The female sexual anatomy. You should know this diagram and be able to label it. You follow the path from the egg, from oogenesis, to the uterus after fertilization, or out of the body with menstrual flow. Again, like the male reproductive anatomy, this picture shows there is some symmetry. 2 ovaries, 2 oviducts, 1 uterus. So the ova, the female gametes produced in the ovaries. Unlike the testes, where cells that go on to divide by meiosis to produce the sex cells, the spermatogonia, which are constantly being made from puberty to, death, the female gametes come from a few 100,000 cells that were established at birth. If we assume a 40-year-old window of reproductive viability for the woman, that means only 480 eggs will ever be released. The follicles, the ovarian cell structures where the ova develop. The other cells will turn into supporting structures, like the follicles and granulosa. Several oocytes will develop between the 2 ovaries every month. The primary oocyte is a diploid cell. After the first round of meiosis, the daughters share the cytoplasm disproportionately, creating one large secondary oocyte for potential fertilization and a polar body. Ovulation is triggered by hormones, which will be discussed later. Hormones will also ensure only 1 ova is released. The system is not perfect, and occasionally 2 can be released at once, and if both are fertilized, fraternal twins will develop. Interestingly, only 1 round of meiosis has occurred to this point. The second round will occur within the next 24 hours if fertilization occurs. Once the egg is released, it's guided into the oviduct by the sweeping action of the fimbriae. Usually called the fallopian tubes after Italian anatomist Gabriele Falloppio, or even uterine tubes, the oviducts are the anatomical equivalents of the ductus deferentia of the male. The biggest difference is the extent of vascularization due to the need to equip these tubes with ciliated cells that have the tubes relax and contract in a peristaltic fashion, like your digestive system, in order to propel the egg toward the uterus. The uterus is that smooth muscle organ that holds and nourishes a developing fetus. It's lined by the endometrium, which is discarded each month in the non-gravid uterus. Non-gravid just means non-pregnant. The size of an upside-down pear, the uterus can expand significantly to accommodate the fetus. The neck is called the cervix, and it opens out into the vagina. The uterus is lined by a richly vascularized structure called the endometrium. By the time a fertilized ova arrives at the uterus, the endometrium has developed sufficiently to allow for it to implant itself and grow. If the ova does not get fertilized, the endometrium breaks down and is discarded by way of the vagina. The monthly cycle of endometrium development and breakdown is regulated by hormones. The vagina, the entrance for the erect penis to deposit sperm. It's also the exit for the fetus during childbirth, and it's lined with expandable tissue, or rugae. There are lubricating glands of the vagina, called the Bartholin's glands and the Skene's glands. And the vulva, part of the external genitalia made up of the labia minora and labia majora, as well as the glans clitoris.